Hi, everybody, and welcome to Research and Media Communications. So let's go ahead and dive right in. You might not know it, but you actually conduct research all the time, even if it's not in the formal sense. An example would be how you chose to come to Full Sail. You asked questions, looked on websites and social media, and you may have called up an admissions rep to help you target what you might want to study and to find out if Full Sail was the right school for you. By doing this, you sought answers to questions like which program has the best student experience for me? What is the cost of going to school? What's the salary of an alumni with my major? What kind of jobs can I get after I graduate? And these are all very important questions to ask. And those are just the day to day type of research questions that you ask yourself as somebody who is in the media communications field or just for yourself. So let's talk about what you're going to be doing this month. When you get to FSO and you open Research and Media Communications, you'll notice one of the first things that you have access to is the professionalism. The professionalism assignment is the same assignment that you've had in every class since you started at Full Sail. And basically, it's our global professionalism standard, and it makes sure that we all comply with Full Sail policies and uphold our GPS throughout all of our courses and our time at Full Sail. And basically, this means that you post all your assignments on time, you don't miss due dates, you practice proper online etiquette, and we'll talk more about that in a minute with our first assignment. You use, business format for emails or text to faculty and staff, and you ensure that your written works are free of spelling, grammar, punctuation errors, and that you resolve technical issues through the proper channels. If it's 11:50 at night on Sunday when something's due, and you're saying, well, I can't get it to post. Well, that's because everybody at Full Sail is trying to get it to post. So make sure that you're managing your time well. The other important thing that I want you to notice here is that it is 5-point deduction on your final GPS, your GPS professionalism score, for every late or missing assignment. And this is going to apply to anything that we prearrange as well. And the reasoning for this is I always like to use this example, but if you're making an ad for the Super Bowl and you work your heart out and you've poured tears and sweat into this and you miss the deadline, in the end, you've done all that work and all that effort, but you still don't have a Super Bowl ad that can be shown because the deadline has passed. So, just like in the workforce, this is to encourage everybody to get used to meeting their deadlines on time, using proper time management, and making sure that they have enough time and, thought into what they have to be producing. What I used to do as a student is I used to sit down at the beginning of the week and I would look at all the due dates and read through all my assignments, and then I would plan out what I would be doing each day for them so that I knew that if I did these things by the time they were due, they were ready to be completed. All right, so let's move on to your first assignment. What is research? So we talked a little bit about how everyday activities require research. And as a media communications strategist or specialist or whatever you decide to, continue on with in the communications field, you will always have to do research. And this is a class where we're going to learn where to find valid and reliable research, how to know what we're looking at is truthful. We haven't stumbled across Onion articles and we're reading them as a truthful source of information, and how to distinguish between ethical information that's out there as well as other types of information from sources that may not be as reliable. We're going to begin by looking at a Lynda called information literacy, and it does all those things that I just talked about. Can you identify credible sources when you're out in the social media world? There's so much information out there now. It takes skill to be able to identify and to use information in a reliable way. So from there, after you guys look at that, and you're going to talk a little bit about what you learned, we're going to go into library resources. And this is a huge, huge one for a research class and really in any class that you have in the future. We have a lot of resources in the library, and I really hope you guys take some time to go to the Full Sail Library and poke around and see what's available to you. I actually got my master's at Full Sail, and I never knew that you could order books. You can actually order a book, and they will send it to you guys with a return envelope, and you have, you know, the 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it is, to read the book, and you put it in the return envelope and you send it back. And I had no idea that that was available to me as an option. And they have many digital sources of books and magazines and, you know, journals, all kinds of things for you to really dig into, and even as an online student, use the library. But today we're going to focus on EBSCOhost. And EBSCOhost are databases that have peer-reviewed journals in there. And usually what would happen if you were looking for information, you would find a journal that has what you wanted, but you would have to pay access to it. But luckily for us, they have a package full of many, many, many of these databases, and you pay for that in your student fees. So you have access to all of them, which is fantastic. So let's look at what that looks like. If you try to go to EBSCOhost directly through the web, they're going to ask you to pay for it, and you've already paid for it, so you don't want to go that way. You're going to go to Connect, and you'll scroll down here to the library and click that. And from there, you are going to go to the research databases. A couple of steps, but it's all fairly easy. And from there, you see how it has the A to Z database list? We're going to choose that. There we go. Easy peasy. And look at how quickly we found that. So here are all the EBSCOhost databases. Now, one beautiful thing about our databases is we have one that is specific to us. So if you scroll down here, you'll see the Communications and Mass Media Complete database. That's wonderful because that pertains to everything that we are researching, especially in the research class. Now, here's a few things. Here's some filters down here that can help you, find exactly what you're looking for. And for this particular assignment, what you're looking for is something that interests you in the field of communication. The only responsibilities you have are to make sure that it's a full text and that it's a scholarly peer-reviewed journal. So you see how I've clicked those? So anything that I look up here, that's going to come to me, it's going to deliver results as full text or scholarly peer-reviewed journal. Okay, so let's look here, ethics in, let's do ethics in social media. All right, so somebody else has looked that up before, so let's see what we have. All right. Okay, so 26 different articles for you to look through and to see if anything here meets your search criteria. Now, just because these are here doesn't mean that, you know, changing keywords, changing, the way you phrase things won't give you different results. So this, just because there's 26 here doesn't mean that's the only way to look for them. You can play around with the keywords and try different things. So you'll find you find two articles that you found interesting, and you will read them, and then you're going to post the article, not the whole article, but you just have to post the link to go back to it, and then after that, you're going to provide the citation for it. So let me show you how to do that. You go to the PDF full text. So let's pretend like this is the one we chose. All right, and now here is the full article for us to read, and here's the journal where you can find it. There's all the information. So now I could go to bibme or citationmaker.com to learn how to do this, and you will go through a tutorial just to refresh you on APA formatting. And we do APA because this is a social sciences class, and you will run into APA throughout the rest of your communications time in MCBS, so kind of get comfortable with it. But for here, there's a little trick. If you go over here to the yellow page, see the little page, and see how it will, see cite, isn't that the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? You can come over here, and if you scroll There you go. It's already in APA format for you, so you can just copy paste that. And that's wonderful because if you're not comfortable, it gives you a good example of what APA looks like, especially when you're dealing with databases. And later on, you're going to look at down here, it says review of APA, and they're going to give you some more ideas on how to do APA formatting for digital sources or for books or for other areas that aren't just related to peer review journals. So that's, it changes a little with each of them, and that's a good review of it. And we have a nice rogue E there that I need to go fix. Another source that I'm just going to link out to really quick is OWL at Purdue. And if you notice, it already has OWL at Purdue APA. So when you go there, this is just another tool if you want help remembering what APA formatting looks like. And over here, it's broken down into books, other print sources, electronic sources, other non-print sources. This one's nice because it talks about interviews and things of that nature if you're trying to put that into APA formatting. So after you do that, in the end, what you will have is you will have your certificate for information literacy. You're going to have your 2 articles. You're going to have your APA formatting of each of those. I'd also like to come back over here to where we went through Connect. If you look here, don't forget to, it says library. You can choose library again and go to Lynda through here. Now they have added an optional way to go through Lynda, and I'm going to try to get this right. Sorry about the whiplash on the screen there. So let's say I'm here. If you click your face over in the corner, it's going to give you some options. And look, if you choose one of them, see resources, it has the manual, Safari Books, and Lynda. So right from here now, you can go directly to Lynda. But if you forget that, don't worry. Just remember to go to the library and you can go through here. Or else you're going to run into that issue where they ask you to pay again. And you've already paid for that. So no need to do it again. All right, so let's just look at the rubric really quick. You're going to put the copy of your certificate for completion, post it in the discussion board. If you're having a problem putting it in with multiple things, that's fine. You can put the certificate in one box and then the 100-word summaries from the articles that include the title, author, and the publication location in another box, and then you can put the APA citations in the last one. It's fine to do that. Don't forget to label your posts. That's part of the college level editing that we're looking for, but that's pretty easy. I made this one due on Thursday so that you had time to just look at the lecture here, answer the questions, and then kind of ease into this month. Okay, so that said, let's look at what is coming up after our first assignment. We are going to work on research, resources, and strategies. And this assignment is designed to have you begin thinking about what it would be like doing research for a specific client. So here we're going to be covering a lot of different topics that you're going to finalize by putting into a social media strategy that you're going to deliver to a client. And your client is Remy Bayou Burgers. So one thing I just kind of want to point out at the beginning is make sure you're not developing this as something that is teaching me or your classmates any of the information that's in here. You're developing it as if you were giving it to a client so they would understand and could utilize all of the different strategies that you are delivering to them. And before I start talking about how we're going to go through this and what this assignment does, I want to jump over here. Now, when we do research, we get a lot of information, and sometimes it's complicated to keep it all organized. So this is the organizational tool that we're going to use. It's called evernote.com, and you have 2 choices. First choice, you can go to Evernote on the web, and you can just use it there, web-based. I like to go to the iTunes store and I like to download it there. It's completely free to download it. Now, they do have paid plans. You notice over here it says upgrade. For our purposes, you don't even need to think about it. And when you get it from the App Store, it gives it to you like this, like in the folders. And the reason why I like this is because it reminds me of Pinterest. If you must know what the draw is. It reminds me of the boards that they have. It would be great if you could put an image here. You can't put an image there, but you can put a label. So if I were doing multiple research tasks, so for instance, the research resources and strategies, and at one point I'm looking at target age groups, or I'm looking at business plans, or I'm looking at social media platforms, I could put a different folder for each of those strategies, and the few articles that I got from those I can put in the folder. So here's a folder, I just labeled it RMC, and I'm going to click it, and there you go. Here are all of the different types of articles that I found that I have placed in this folder. So it's fairly easy to use and keep things organized. Now, one of the features that helps keep this fairly easy to use is an add-on that you're going to want to add to your desktop here. And so you're going to look for, it looks like, actually I'm going to keep it here. It looks like this when you pop it up. And this is how you save the articles straight from the desktop. So here, I'm going to X that out. We're going to go here. And what you'll do is, it doesn't work that well in Safari, but they said that FSO doesn't work that well with Safari anyway. So I'm having to get used to using Chrome and Firefox. So I think it's probably a good idea if you go ahead and start getting used to those browsers. So you're going to do Web Clipper for Chrome. And here it is, it'll pop up and, excuse me, and it's going to give you the instructions for how to download it and add it. Now, I already have it added, so it's added to Chrome, but all you have to do is click add it and then follow the instructions and it'll be added. And you'll notice that it's right here. So now once it pops up, it's right there and ready for me to go. So let me show you how to use it. So you click here and you get this like we saw before. And so here's the full article, and if I want to save that to that folder, I go down here. Remember that folder was RMC, but let's say I want to choose a different folder. Let's do Research and Media Communications. Okay, so I'm going to choose that folder. And then I don't want to have a lot of busyness in here, so I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to click Simplified. And look, it takes out everything else, and all I have left is this simplified article. Now, you can just get the full page, you can just do a bookmark, and you can do a screenshot as well. When I talk about now adding comments or reminders to the article so that you remember why you chose it, this is where you do it, right here where it says add remark. This is why I chose this article. This is now here to refer to. Okay, you'll write more than that as the directions say, but that's where you add that particular information. Okay, we're going to save it. You can see that it's going to take a moment to save. And now we're going to go over to our notebooks. So I chose Research and, oh goodness, of course I have a couple of different ones. So this will be fun to see if this is the right one. Let's see if September was the right one. So we're going to click it. Now, right now I don't see it. Sometimes you have to click the refresh button. And that is the correct one, I hope. There we go. So do you see how that works? And right here is where the summary is for what I was writing. And you'll notice that in the directions that we'll go over in just a minute. So let's go back to the notebook. When it comes time for you to share your link for the notebook, you're going to right click on there and you're going to think, I want to share my notebook, and click that. Now you can do that, but when you do that, it adds a lot of different steps, email addresses that you have to put in to allow permissions for people to come in. So instead, if you do manage notebook permissions, and oh, I'm so sorry. I take that back. It's the one under it, publish notebook. Pardon me there. It gives you a public link. And then once you have that public link, you can just copy paste that link, and then everybody has access to see the notebook that needs to. Okay, so sorry about that little snafu. Remember, it's publish notebook. All right, so that should make that pretty easy for you. And like I said, once you're done, you have all of these different notebooks and different ways that you can keep it organized. And that is so important. If you think about like doing a large literature review where you're looking at a lot of secondary sources and putting together your own review of ideas. And like the one that I had to do for my master's program had over 100 different articles that I resourced. So having a tool that can keep everything labeled and make it so you don't have to read the entire article again to remember why you are there. If you found a business plan article and it told you that the typical food trucks were between, I don't know, $35,000 to $100,000, it would be nice just to know that quick bit of information was what you were looking for in that article, rather than having to reread the whole article. So it's a great tool, and we'll be using it a lot throughout all of our assignments here on FSO. Okay, so let's look at research resources and strategies. So like I said, we're going to begin by understanding that we're going at this from the view of a client having hired us to do research. And I made it so that you are researching the idea that he would like to start a food truck. So here are the items that you're going to do your own research on before you develop your presentation. And the reason is you will refer back to these when you are delivering what your recommendations are to your client. Now, this will be a 2 to 3 minute presentation, and this is going to utilize all of your skills from creative presentation, from when you had Mike and Pete, when you had aesthetics. At this point, you guys are pretty solid on the presentation part of all of this. I just want to point out a couple things. Obviously, there are no written reports. This isn't a report, it's a presentation. And there are no talking heads. So there's not going to be any time where you're sitting in front of a camera and just talking. That said, voiceovers are your friend, because as you know, on presentations, it's so tempting to put everything that you want to put on the slides. But as you've learned from creative presentations and Mike's class and Pete's class and doing all of these presentations, it's not really a good idea. So a way to get around that is to put the basic ideas up there, and then you can expand on them when you're talking. So let's look at an example of a very good presentation.
Hi, my name is Matt Costa with the MCBS research team. Throughout our research, we found a number of great resources that helped us develop our social media campaign for Remy's Bayou Burgers. We took into account Bayou Burgers' 3 preliminary goals for the campaign. Number 1 is to increase their exposure, increasing their followers on social media, and increasing their sales. Number 2 is to develop a fan base, a group of loyal repeat customers. Their third goal is to build community. We approached this last goal by asking 2 questions. How can Bayou Burgers become more involved in the local community? And second, how can Bayou Burgers become more involved in creating a network of food trucks within the community? Before beginning the campaign, we need to lay out some groundwork. The first way we did this is by discussing who would be the intended audience of the campaign. Since the first goal is increasing exposure, we felt that targeting social media users who follow other food trucks in the area will be a great place to start. We also included in the audience foodies and the younger crowd of 18 to 30, since they seem to be better at sharing and engaging in social media. One of the keys to being effective on social media is to remember that less is more. We're going to launch this social media campaign on only 3 platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. The benefit of Facebook is the ability to target audiences through direct marketing. We can also ask users to like, check in, and share statuses as promotions. Through Twitter, We will be able to communicate directly with our followers by quickly responding to the compliments and any issues that might arise. We can also broadcast our location and instantly update our followers on specials or anything else that would need to be quickly updated. Through Snapchat, we will really be focusing on building our fan base. By having a business-specific geocode, we can allow our followers to post snaps that are also built-in advertising. We can do behind-the-scene updates, share new recipes, and offer a playful mode for the community building that is Bayou's Burger's third goal. The benefit of using Facebook and Twitter is that both of these platforms have built-in resources for analytics. We can measure engagement through likes, shares, and retweets. The benefit of Snapchat is that it keeps our updates fresh. Each day when we post new content, our followers will hopefully want to engage with us because it is a surprise. And by offering our unique geocode, we can see which of our followers are actually responding to our posts by giving us business. We're going to be using the program Buffer. With Buffer, Bayou Burgers will be able to schedule their social media posts to continue reaching their customers even when they are asleep or busy working on the food truck.
All right, so let's take this apart just a little bit. The first thing I want you to notice is that you can definitely tell that there was a script written and that it was practiced. There wasn't a lot of fumbling over the wordage. He was pretty confident in what he was saying and backed up all of his points very well with visual representations of what he was saying. And that's important. Think about delivering this content to a client for the first time. One that's come to you and said, I don't really understand social media. I don't know what I would use it for. How would I apply all this to my business? So it's your job, again, up here, to do the research with that. Like you're coming back with him, back to him with, these are the popular kinds of cuisines. So, we could use Instagram to focus on these typical cuisines that, bring in customers. See how you're tying that in with the social media strategy. And what geographic location or specific area or food truck's the most successful. If you're suggesting a target audience of like 18 to say 34, you may be targeting young business people. And so the location might be a downtown area. So again, you're tying in that research that you've done previously into the social media strategy. So you have to be pretty thorough with both sets of research that you do here, both on the social media side and its impact, and on what is going to help sell this food truck and how you can best show that in social media. So mock-ups are a beautiful thing. You can just Google mock-ups for Twitter, for Instagram, for Facebook, for whatever the platforms you decide to go with as suggestions. There are mock-ups out there for all of them. And you'll also notice that the way I was talking about the voiceover, that there was the amount of information that he had presented was supported very well and fully by his voiceover. So again, that's another reason you want to consider utilizing that as part of your strategy. Okay, so in the end, make sure that you have addressed done the research up here so that you can incorporate and fold that into all of the prompts down here. Pardon me. And you will be doing a 2 to 3 minute social media strategy pitch. If you go over a little bit, that's okay. If you're way under, that's not okay. This is, again, directed towards the client. Make sure that you've addressed the things that you need to address. You're going to have your live link to your Evernote notebook, which has 8 researched articles that address those prompts up there. Can you have more? Of course you can have more, but at least 8 articles. Your 2 to 3 sentence summary. Remember how I showed you how to put the summary on the web clipper? Make sure that's there. So when we open up the Evernote link, we can see the article and the summary, and then the social media strategy. Make sure you go over each of the rubric points, and do please check your spelling and your grammar within the presentation itself. You'd be surprised how many times you've seen it 100 times because you've been working on it, and how many times something gets misspelled. Okay, so that wraps up week one. I'm going to ask you a few questions below, and that will be it for your Tuesday assignment. Welcome, you guys. I'm really excited to have you in the class this month. I absolutely love research and I love the social sciences, and the fact that I get to share this with you, even though I know it may put me in the nerd category, is truly an incredible adventure for me. So, welcome.